Hello, and welcome to the Soulful Shift podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking and sharing three main themes of how to create success in 2026. And really, it's 2026 and beyond. There's probably 12 to 15 that I could think of when I was thinking about recording this episode, but I really want to focus in on three main themes because if you do these three alone, consistently in 2026, you will see a massive difference in not only your own ability to move ahead in your career, but also in leading others. Because if you're watching this, listening to this, I know you are somebody who not only wants success for yourself, the title, the pay, the promotion, whatever it is for yourself, but also you want to have the impact and be able to lead others in the way that you came here to lead, because I know you were born to lead and you are here to lead in this new era. So I will be sharing three main themes. Now, before I dive into this, I want to share that I am having a masterclass, a workshop in January. I believe it's the 13th and the 14th. I'm going to put the link in the show notes before. But after listening to this, if you're like, I want to go deeper into these topics, I encourage you to check out the link and join in this masterclass in a couple weeks and have your company pay for it. I've made it really, really accessible, $111 US. And I'm going to be sharing things in there that you can actually take back to work and use in your job. So check that out if you're interested. And of course, you can always work one-on-one with me and, even email me if you're interested in that or fill out the questionnaire down below. Okay. So I did a post about a month ago and I shared a quote. I made a quote up myself actually. And I said, the new definition of insanity is doing the same things over and expecting the same results. And if I could come up with one overarching theme for 2026 and beyond, it would be that. The frequency on the planet has changed. The vibration, the energy in the planet has changed. And what that means essentially is what used to work does not work anymore because the frequency has changed. Now, I'm not going to explain all of what that means in detail because honestly, that could be hours worth of information. I encourage you, if you want to understand more what that means, check it out yourself. There's lots of information out there. You may have to dig a little bit, but look into it. I spent lots of time looking into it myself and understanding frequency and things like that. And if you want to know what's going on, absolutely, I encourage you to check it out. But for the purposes of this episode today, I really want to just say we have to acknowledge that the frequency in the planet has changed, and therefore what used to work doesn't work anymore. And I know so many of you are experiencing this. What I see happening over and over again is people trying really hard and putting lots of effort in to try to make things happen, to shift things in their career, and they're just not getting anywhere. And I believe it's for two reasons. One of the reasons is we think it's something to do with the economy, or we've come up with another reason why it's not working. And the second thing is some of us have realized, okay, something's different on this planet, but we don't know what to do instead. So I want to share with you, first of all, it's because the energy has shifted. And I'm going to share with you some of the things to do instead. Now, as I share the three themes, what I want you to do is really think about. So, what I'm going to share when I share them is what doesn't work anymore. And then I'm going to share what to do instead. And what I want you to do is think about when I talk about what doesn't work anymore, if you need to pause the recording of this and think of your own life, think of your own career, and really think, have I been trying to do this and it's not working? Right? Because often we have to see something really clearly, like, oh, I can see where I've done that pattern, right? Because here's the thing, the patterns that I talk about that aren't working anymore have been working for a really, really long time, decades upon decades. And so it's sometimes really hard to see, like, these patterns just are normal to all of us in our everyday life. But we've got to really start to see them and see that they're not working, they are not effective. So if you need to pause and really contemplate them, I encourage you to do that because your observation that it's not working is way more powerful than me just telling you and going, hey, believe me, right? I want you to tap into your own authority. Like, listen to this and go, does this make sense? Is this also what I'm observing? And if it is, that's going to really help these new ways land deeper for you. And I want that for you. And again, I never want you to take away your power or say, listen to me above yourself. In fact, I want the opposite. I want you to listen to yourself. I am creating suggestions. I am creating ideas. I am sharing what I'm observing. I am sharing what I know to be true. But I'm not here to tell you to take this on blindly. And I would never do that. And I want you to really start to empower yourself to listen to your own internal guidance first and foremost above anyone else. Anyone else. Okay. Theme number 1. Output has its capacity in its ability to get you ahead. So, in other words, working harder, more effort, all the things that we were all taught to keep doing has a threshold limit. And I'm here to tell you that most of you are at that threshold limit, meaning you can't do anymore. If you thought to yourself, well, I actually want to get a promotion or I want to get a pay raise, you're probably at capacity. And this is where a lot of frustration comes with a lot of people because they're like, I can't do anymore. And it's because you're not supposed to do anymore. We have this corporate system that says more and more and more and more and more, which is crazy when you think about it. So much, only so many hours in a day, and there's only so much capacity you have within you. And doing more and creating more effort can look a number of different ways. It can look like working longer hours. It can look like taking the emotional load of people around you. It can look like adding more credentials to your resume, getting an MBA, getting certifications, getting all kinds of academia to add to make you look more qualified. And I want to say that, working hard, showing up, getting more credentials are all beautiful. And we always need to be taking action. But what I'm saying is there is a threshold. I think there's an economic law, a law of diminishing returns, and most of you are well past that. You've passed the point of optimization in your qualifications, in your ability to do the job, and your level of output. And doing more will not get you further. It's actually going to pull you back because you're going to become more exhausted, more burned out if you're not already there. But this is good news. This is actually really good news because I'm going to tell you what to do instead. It isn't doing anymore. So where we're moving into now is the corporate system taught all of us to be victims. They did. It taught us to give our power away to the system. If you want to create success in the corporate system, you just got to do what the system says. You basically hand over your agency when you accept a job. I mean, we know that. Companies think they own you, they own your time, they own you, right? I mean, even just the notion that a company can have a non-compete clause and you can't, I've had clients who wanted to start businesses and they're like, I can't have my employer find out that I'm starting a completely unrelated business. And I'm like, that's crazy. But that is the corporate system. It's taught people to give away their agency. And of course, there's a threat. There's always this threat of you'll lose your job, right? But the answer isn't to keep giving away your power and keep doing more to make the system more happy because it's not working. It's just keeping you on a hamster wheel. What needs to shift in 2026 and starting now, never mind 2026, is you reclaiming your power. You stop being a victim. And that might trigger you a little bit. You might say, I'm not being a victim, or, I am successful in all this. And what I want you to really hear is I have worked with incredibly successful people. Like, I'm smiling when I say this because so many of my clients who come to me, I'm blown away at what they've accomplished, blown away, like just in awe. But they're still living in victim. They're still doubting themselves. It doesn't matter what your resume says. It doesn't matter. What matters is how you feel inside. Are you empowered? Have you reclaimed your power? And I can tell you that most people in the corporate system have not. The far majority, and like I said, I don't care how successful you look on paper, how high up you are, you're still a slave to the system. You're still a slave to it. And that is not a word I use lightly. I do not use that word. I actually really don't like that word, but that's what came out, but that's what was created. So you need to start reclaiming your power. And this doesn't happen in one fell swoop. It doesn't happen in one moment of bravery. This is you reclaiming your power every single day in little bits. And that's the best way to do it, is little bits. Because if you start to reclaim your power in big gestures, your whole nervous system is going to start to crash. And I don't want that for you. It's a whole different conversation. This is the work I do with my clients, but we don't want you to start unraveling, right? But what happens is when you reclaim your power in small little bits every day, is you build an inner trust within yourself. Okay? Because what the corporate system really taught you not to trust yourself, right? It became the end all be all. We're looking for validation from the system. But when you reclaim your power, you no longer need validation from the system, from anybody. It's your own inner authority that guides you. Now, what happens is you build an inner trust within yourself and you become more certain of yourself. You become more grounded. You become the eye of the storm. Now, what happens when you become the eye of the storm is you can no longer be pushed around. You can no longer, you don't sway. That's what the eye of the storm is, right? And given this new world we are in, the person who is grounded and certain in who they are and doesn't crumble when pressure comes along, those are the people that are rising to the top. Leaders are not created in leadership development programs where you sit in a classroom and you do a bunch of exercises and just say this, just do this. No. Leaders are created in these everyday moments where they have a choice to just go along with the narrative, go along with everyone else, fit in, or they choose their own inner authority. Leaders are created under pressure because those are little tiny pressure points. This is why people also avoid it, because they are little pressure points. That's why I say do it slowly, do it small little bits, because there are pressure points. And I'm going to give some examples in the masterclass if you decide to join, because I think some examples, I don't want to make this episode too long today, but you become magnetic. The reason why people don't follow leaders anymore that are in leadership positions is because they don't trust them, because they know if push comes to shove, they're going to crumble. Okay, when the company hits hard economic times, oh, we're just going to lay off half the staff. It's fine. It's fine. And the rest of the staff, oh, they can handle all the extra work. It's fine. That's what we're seeing. That's not leadership at all. And I'm not saying layoffs aren't necessary sometimes, but it should be a last resort, and it's not. The leaders we have right now in a lot of leadership positions, and it's not all of them, crumble the moment pressure hits. And that is not a leader. Leaders are created under pressure. And reclaiming your power is when you hit these little tiny pressure points every single day. And instead of running the other way, you lean in. You lean in. Because you change who you are in that process. You become magnetic. You are still creating, you are still having your output, you still have your credentials, but what now matches that is a new identity and a new state of being. And the mixture of all of those, it is what is going to catapult you and make your success inevitable in 2026. Okay. Major theme number 2, risk. Well, this is a juicy one. And I love the topic of risk, just in case you don't know too much about me at this point. My background is economics, and I used to be a CPA, and I feel like much of my career was all about mitigating risk. So this is one of my most favorite topics because most people miss the mark on risk. Most people are so risk averse and And this is one of the biggest challenges right now for humanity is most of humanity is so risk averse. So we have to redefine what is risk. Because remember I said at the beginning, like we're not just undergoing a little shift left or a little shift right. Things are being really flipped upside down. So if you think how it's been in the corporate system, how do you get ahead? Well, you say what you're supposed to say, do what you're supposed to do, know certain people or, have like just there's a whole set of like rules. I don't need to go into all of them. You know the rules. And if you followed those rules, for the most part, you could, and of course you had abilities, right? And you worked hard, you could get ahead. We've seen, like, think 10 years ago, massive success, people making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, having, mediocre talent, to be honest, achieving very high levels of success. That's not the case anymore. But if we had this knowing that if we followed these rules, it would all be okay. But what has happened now? If you look on LinkedIn, if you look in the corporate system now, what do we see is incredibly talented people, incredibly qualified people losing their homes, not being able to find work for 18 months. And we could blame the economy, but it's not just the economy. It's the fact that we have decided as a collective that these are the rules and we're holding on to them for dear life. Meanwhile, the whole system underneath those rules, where that like the foundation where those rules were built, is crumbling. But we're still holding on to these rules. This is how I'm going to have success. In the old corporate system, it was riskier to be yourself. It was riskier to say what you really thought. It was riskier to speak up. That's all being flipped right now. Authenticity is one of the highest vibrations you can experience, and it's what people are looking for. And there's a whole bunch of reasons for this. I'm going to go into this in the masterclass because the world is in chaos. We've been living in this world where trust has been eroded. So we no longer trust people who follow those rules. We just don't. You may not be conscious of it, but you don't. So moving forward, we have to really look at what is the bigger risk long term, not just short term, because what most people are doing right now is they're trying to secure their future by ignoring the present. All they're doing is looking out in the future and going, my risk, I want to keep my nest egg. I want to keep everything I worked for. I want to keep this. I want to keep it. So I'm going to keep following all those rules that I was told to follow, not really opening up the aperture, looking around and going, is it working? Yes or no? And if it's not working, the risk now is staying the same, is following all those rules. And this is a deep one. And this is a this this is a bit of a mind gymnastics. I'm not gonna lie to you. Well, I never would lie to you, but it is mind gymnastics. Because for decades, we've been taught the safe thing. The thing you do is follow the rules. And now we can see everywhere people who are following those rules to a T are losing. It's because the foundation beneath all those rules, like that corporate system that decided those rules, is crumbling. So the rules no longer apply. And it takes time to readjust. But just seeing that, I'm not saying you have to rush ahead and go do a bunch of stuff, right? But what I am saying is we need to start to shift and say, where is the risk? Is it still where it used to be, or do we need to move the risk? Because, and the reason why I mentioned my experience with risk and my whole career dealing with risk is this is what I absolutely know to be true. People underestimate the risk of staying where they are and over exaggerate the risk of changing. That's the way our mind works, right? because our egos don't like change. Our mind does not like change. But we're coming face to face with this now in a big way. We're thinking that it is much riskier to change. And I'm here to tell you, because of the frequency shifts, because of everything that's happening, it is far riskier to stay doing exactly what you're doing. And again, I will say this again. This is about slow, small, repetitive actions. This is not about going up and blowing up your career and saying something or doing something just like take a risk. That's not what this is about. I mean, you do you. I'm not here to tell you what to do. But in my experience, that doesn't work. That just what happens is you collapse because your nervous system couldn't handle it. It was too big a shift too fast. This is about these tiny pressure points, as I mentioned, being able to face risk in a different way every single day in small little ways. And over time, your risk profile really expands and you start to shift over time. So start thinking about where can you take maybe just like little tiny risks, just little tiny ones, not big ones, to start to regulate your nervous system, to get your system used to you shifting how you see risk. Okay? The third theme is you need to start learning about energy. I feel like I want to say this 5 times in a row. You need to start learning about energy. And it's a big topic, quantum physics. It's a huge topic. It is not woo-woo. It still blows my mind that people resist it. It's going on. We are all energy. Everything is energy. And to think possibly that this is not affecting our reality. And there is so much proof. This is what kills me. Is there's so much proof out there in the world. They've done so many experiments and they have so much science behind energy that to keep ignoring it it's ludicrous in my eyes. I got exposed to energy in 2006. Yeah, 2006. I had to go back in time. That was when I've been studying it for almost 20 years now. And it never ceases to amaze me at the impact that so many people are missing. Now, because it's such a big topic, I don't want to go too deep into this. I'm planting a seed with you right now to start learning about it. But I am going to give you an example. What we need to start to understand is that we've been taught in this world to compartmentalize, especially our careers, right? Compartmentalize. Your career is over here. Your personal life is here. Who you be in your career is different from who you be in your personal life. You speak differently, you talk differently, you dress differently. It's all different. So we've been taught to really compartmentalize, okay? And energy cannot be compartmentalized. That is really important to note. And why I'm telling you this is you can no longer separate your professional life from your personal life, meaning you cannot have an amazing, super successful career where you are like doing fabulous things and getting the promotions and leading people and having the impact and have your personal life a mess. Can't. Because you are the same person, you are the same energy. Now, I'm going to give you an example of this, okay? And I probably have 100 easily off the top of my head examples. This happens in clients every day. So when I work with clients, just to give you sort of a bit of a background, is clients come to me and we work on their career. But because of energy, we always dip into their personal life because you cannot separate. As soon as we start working together, I can't tell you how many times this has happened. I'll get on a call and usually the first 5 minutes of my call, we do like an update, like a regrounding. Where are you at? Like sort of lay the land of what's been going on with them. And I can't tell you how many times I get on a client call and they're like, okay, now this has come up in my personal life. Because as we start to shift and change in our professional life, our personal life needs to change as well because we are all one person. But I want to give you an example of this. A lot of people have a lot of frustration in their careers. They're not feeling like they're seen or heard or understood, right? And the easiest thing for me to say is, do you see yourself? Do you hear yourself? Do you understand yourself? Because we are all energy. Is your team not listening to you? Your boss isn't listening to you? Well, first question is, are you listening to you? That's just one really easy example. Because we can't expect the world to listen to us if we're not even listening to us. And I don't mean just listen, but actually following our own inner guidance. If you're making a suggestion to your boss and she or he's not taking it, not even really listening to it, are you even taking your own guidance? Right? Simple question to ask yourself. But I want to give you a really personal example. So, as you reclaim your power, something that does happen is that friendships, relationships change. And as you reclaim your power, you will find that invariably there are some people that you do not resonate with anymore. The truth is we have to let relationships go sometimes because we're in a time of change right now. And there are some people who are resisting change, and there are some people who are embracing change. And you will never get ahead if you've got people in your life who are resisting change. They're always going to hold you back. But I want to give you an example. So as I've up leveled in my life, I have refined my relationships, and I have lost relationships, lost friendships. I had to let them go and brought new ones in, right? That's just a part of evolution. So this year was a big year of growth for me. And so there were a few friendships that I've had to let go. And here's the thing. So my pattern in friendships and relationships is I overgive. So this is something I've been working on for a very long time. It started when I was like my family growing up, and I don't need to get into all the details of it, but we all have these patterns, right? We all have these patterns. And this is the time now you got to start recognizing and seeing your patterns. So my pattern is overgiving. I compensate. I do all the work in relationships. So I've had to deal with this over the last number of years. And so this year was another layer of that. Here's the important part. Now, I run a business, but I'm no different than you in terms of I want success. I have clients, you have a boss. It's the same but different, right? It's the same thing. For me to now move into the next level, I cannot be in any relationship where I am overgiving, where I am doing more, where it's not reciprocal, because I'm going to burn out in my business. I'm going to be giving to people and doing more than I should. And that's an energetic imprint. Okay. So I had to sever these friendships, or I chose to, right? And I wasn't feeling good in them either. I was feeling resentful. I was starting to feel like, hey, why aren't you doing more? And, kind of getting tired of talking about it. Just went, okay, I'm just done. But if I don't actually deal with that in my personal life, I am going to be attracting in clients or attracting in people, collaborations, everything, where I'm having to give more. So what I'm saying is we are all energy. If the energy I am putting out is I do more than I receive, I give more than I receive, that creates an imbalance everywhere in my life. Because energy cannot be compartmentalized. So if you look at it from, say if you are in the same position, say you are somebody who gives more in relationships, you are going to have an employer that expects more from you than you receive. And there's no amount of negotiating skills. There's no amount of you, having your PowerPoint presentation of why you should get a raise. There is no amount of anything, no amount of strategy, negotiating skills, anything that is going to make a difference until you deal with the relationships in your personal life where you are overgiving and balance the energy out. And this is what I mean by we need to start recognizing energy. Because the world we have lived in, the corporate system, but even the world at large, has taught all of us that strategy is everything. It's everything. But haven't you noticed that some people do the same strategy and they have a result that's far different than the one you do. And it could be in your favor or not in your favor. Like you can achieve success like way easier than someone else, or not as easily in another area, and you can't figure out why. It's energy. We don't all start from the same level playing field. I don't teach strategy to my clients. Like I don't have this platform where I say, okay, if you want to raise, this is what you're going to have to. You're going to say this, and like I'll write all the notes down. I mean, I do have these conversations with my clients after we've aligned them energetically first, but that's first. That has to come first. And we've got to start realizing that your energy is everything. So, like, if you're in a marriage where it's chaos all the time, your career is going to have chaos because you're allowing chaos. The thing with energy is whatever we allow is what we say yes to. So we say yes to relationships that take more than they give. That's what we're saying yes to in all of our life. This is huge. And there's so many different layers to energy. There's so many different parts of it. And it's not to overwhelm you by any stretch of the imagination. It's just to understand that we've been focusing on strategy incorrectly. This is why leadership development programs that we have in the corporate world spends billions of dollars on don't work. All they focus on is strategy. This is the steps you've got to follow. But it's not working. We can see it's not working. If it was working, we would not have the situation in the corporate system that we have right now, because that's what they've been doing for decades, is teaching strategy, and it doesn't work. Energy, reclaiming your power. These are what are working not only in the corporate system to create system within success within teams, but in your own career. This is what is working moving forward. Remember, things are not just shifting to the left, a little bit to the right or whatnot. Things are being flipped completely. But what I can tell you, I want to wrap this up with this thought and leave you with this, because this is really important, is this is so good. Like, it's so good. This is such a better way of living, of being, of existing, of working and succeeding. Like, it actually feels good. What's the point of having things if you're miserable all the time, or you're stressed, or you're burned out, you're exhausted? The strategies that I teach, and I'm using that word strategies ironically, but what I teach, the energetics, the reclaiming your power, and where the world is moving to, is actually for us. Because how it was built before was not for the human spirit at all. This new era we are going to is built for the human spirit. This is where you actually create more success quicker and easier, and you enjoy the process. We're not living for some point in the future. We hope something is going to happen. No, no, no. That's the old way. All right, beautiful soul. I hope this was super helpful. Again, I'll put the link down below if you want to join for that masterclass. I would love, love, love to see you there if you feel called. All right. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.